3 years, it's finally here. We in the new empire, baby. I've been looking forward to Godzilla Kong: The New Empire since it was announced that this movie would even be getting made, because I thought Godzilla vs. Kong was going to be the last one. My mind was absolutely blown by the first trailer, just what was in it. I was like, wow, they're actually doing this. Okay. Today I'm here to tell you my thoughts on the movie, without spoilers, of course, as both a fan of the serious, down-to-earth, gritty, dark Godzilla. I mean, right there's a poster for it. But also the wacky, over-the-top, zany, doesn't take itself too serious, just fun monster mash Godzilla films. I've been watching this franchise since I was a little kid. So, what did I think of GXK? As always, I'm going to start with the negatives, what I really didn't care for about the movie, because that's just how I approach my discussion of films. I try and talk about the things that I don't really care for first, and then end it on a positive note. Absolutely, my biggest problem with Godzilla Kong: The New Empire is the runtime. It's way too short, in my opinion. I thought GVK suffered from that pretty badly. I think this one suffers from it just a teensy bit worse. Just a teensy bit. I was like genuinely shocked how fast it got to like the final battle. I was like, okay, we're here now. Okay. Not that what happened between the beginning and that wasn't memorable, but it was just, I was amazed at how fast it went by. It was at a breakneck pace. And I really wish it had a lot more breathing room. I think if the movie had an extra 30 minutes, I think ultimately it would have benefited it more in the long run. I get, though, that the budget is not only the cheapest of the 5 films, but also they had a bunch of monsters to put in here, so I get it. So I wish they did a solo film before they went straight into GXK, but hey, I mean, you know. I also feel that like some things in the writing department, like some things were either not explained enough or completely just not explained at all, or they were kind of over-explained to an extent where it felt like they were just kind of teaching you. It didn't happen too often, but I noticed it a couple times and I was like, I was also kind of displeased at the handling of a couple of the cameo kaiju. There's multiple cameo kaiju in this film. One of them I think they did absolutely fantastic, and I'll get to that in my spoiler review. When I do that, it'll be like a week or 2 from now. But a couple of these cameo kaiju, I just feel like, you know, they could have been done a lot more justice, in my opinion. Also, I wasn't a huge fan of Junkie XL returning for the soundtrack, but I will say I liked this soundtrack a lot more than GVK's soundtrack. It's just, you know, I would have got Bear McCreary if I were y'all. I would have got Bear McCreary. There were also a couple plot contrivances, conveniences, whatever, but hey, you know, whatever, man. Also feel the 2 villains, Scar King, and before I say her name, I know there's some people that think she's a spoiler. They literally show her in the second trailer like 3 times. Shimo, I feel like both of them could have used a lot more screen time, and that's also, you know, a consequence of the shorter run time. But now for the positive stuff in this movie. First off, the monsters. I mean, I know y'all have heard this movie's more about the monsters than the humans. They weren't lying. It really is. The heart of this film is absolutely Kong, man. Kong just absolutely steals the show in every scene he's in. He goes on his own emotional journey throughout this film, and it's just such a fun watch. His relationship with Suko was honestly great. I actually was very surprised how much I liked Suko. You see that they don't trust each other at first, but then as the film grows, they, you know, make that father and son bond, and it's just so awesome to see. I loved it. Godzilla, while he isn't in this movie as much as I would have liked, he's in it enough for me to not complain. And he's just, oh my god. This movie put legendary Godzilla in like top 3 Godzilla incarnations for me, in my opinion. He was in my top 5 already, but nah, yeah, he's up there, top 3. He literally was possessed with the soul and the holy ghost of the Final Wars Godzilla and the Showa Godzilla. And boy, did that boy kick ass and take names while doing it. Oh my god. I have never seen legendary Godzilla so pissed off and so just tweaked out of his mind. I mean, obviously, you know, I love the evolved design. I'm wearing the cavity color shirt right now. I've got the RC one right here. I've pre-ordered the Hiya Toys one, and I got this boy after the movie. I don't particularly care for Funko, but you know, I had to get the Godzilla evolved. Like, who do you think I am? As for other monsters, Scar King was surprisingly really good. What? I was so taken aback at how well Scar King was done, despite the fact that he doesn't have as much screen time as I would have hoped. He is genuinely such an awesome villain. He may not be like the strongest or anything, but like, oh my god, dude. I just was enjoying every minute he was on screen. I was skeptical about him, but like, after watching the movie, oh yeah. He's valid. He's valid. Same exact thing goes for Shimo. She definitely gets the shorter end of the stick on the screen time. I really wish Shimo got a lot more screen time. But yeah, man, like, despite the fact that both Scar and Shimo don't have as much screen time as you would think, they make such a lasting impression with what little time that they do have. Both of them are absolutely standouts of this movie and standouts of the MonsterVerse in general, in my opinion. I definitely off-rip like both of them more than the Mutos, but just automatically, just no questions asked. And, you know, this is a little fake of me considering I love the Skullcrawlers, but I'm gonna put them over Ramorak, at least for the time being. They oozed personality, man. And speaking of personality, just, man, the monsters in general, they've never had as much personality as they've had this movie. Especially a lot of the stuff with Kong. Kong just, oh my god. They basically have a dynamic set up in the MonsterVerse now that, like, Kong is Goku and Godzilla is Vegeta. And as a, you know, Dragon Ball fan that just got into it a few years ago but really loves Dragon Ball, I really like that. That's really cool. I like that dynamic. Like I said, Godzilla is tweaking the entire movie. He's definitely not happy to see Kong again. And he just takes all that energy out on the world. And it's, oh my god, it's so fun to watch unfold. Like I said, Scar is deliciously evil. He is just such an asshole in the best way. He quite literally is the Ghidorah for Kong. Speaking of the way monsters were handled, there was a secret cameo monster that I knew about before because of some merch that got leaked, but I was very worried would get handled very poorly, and instead the opposite. That monster was handled exactly how I wanted it to be handled, and I could not be happier. Once again, I will divulge on who that is in the spoiler review. You probably all know who I'm talking about. Me personally, I don't think the CGI is that bad. I think about 70-ish% of the film looks just as good as the other MonsterVerse films. And then about like 30% of it is a little wonky, but I would say the worst shot in this film looks like the best shot from the entirety of the MCU. The CGI here, even with the lower budget and some of it having cut corners, is just so good. Like, I am impressed. Adam Wingard's cinematography with these monsters, some of the shots that he creates, is just absolutely impeccable. I know a lot of people are complaining about there's no scale in this movie. They're lying. There's a lot of stuff that you use as point of reference in these frames that you can see, and it's like, wow, these are truly big. I genuinely don't see how people are like saying that there's no scale in this movie. Like, it's an outright lie. I'm sorry. There are things you can compare the monsters to that are relative to our height and everything. Like, I'm sorry. The action and the fight choreography, just, oh my god, dude, I am mind blown. There's some stuff that I never thought I would ever see Godzilla do in my life. There's some stuff I thought Kong would never do. There's some stuff I just never thought kaiju in general would ever do. It's just so insane, and I was mind blown the entire time by it. And circling back around to kaiju, I forgot to mention him, but surprisingly, I didn't hate Suko. I thought Suko was actually pretty chill. I liked Suko. He wasn't overtly annoying or anything. He was pretty wholesome, pretty sweet, and he was badass and strong when he needed to be, and I think that's all that matters ultimately. And I'll tell you another thing that genuinely surprised me about a movie that's more about the monsters than the humans. The humans in this are actually okay. I actually didn't hate them. I would genuinely go out of my way to say I think this is the best human cast out of the entire MonsterVerse, the way this one's been handled. The standouts for me were absolutely Trapper and Bernie. I'm so glad that Bernie got more screen time because Bernie was already one of my favorites before this, and now he just solidified, absolutely solidified. Trapper was just such a fun dude, man. He just absolutely just stole the show every time he was on screen. Dr. Andrews actually gets a lot more to do in this film. Gia sadly gets cut back a little, but her presence on screen when she is there is absolutely awesome. I loved it. And there are no annoying, like, side characters or anything. There's no, like, Rick Stanton for this movie. And another thing that's crazy is this movie is funny as hell. I was surprised how much I was laughing throughout the movie, whether it was like a actual like joke or it was just some like slapstick stuff with the monsters. There's actually quite a bit of like slapstick humor with the monsters. You'll see one of my favorite scenes is involving Suko, and is the highest of slapstick comedy. But to me personally, and you know, my sense of humor is different from everyone's, but I thought every joke landed for me. I actually laughed at a majority, if not all, the jokes. I did not think there was really a bad joke in the film. Nothing in there made me go, like the "oh my god" Zilla line did. To sum it up, man, I loved Godzilla Kong: The New Empire. Off first watch, I thought this movie was metal as hell. Truly, this movie made me feel like a kid again. It was such a fun time. I'm so glad that I got to see it. Is this film perfect? Hell no. It's super flawed. But, you know, -1's flawed in its own ways, too. I love it. I think it's a masterpiece. But, you know, it's got some nitpicks here and there that I would, you know, if I thought about it, I'd be like, well, that does bother me. But that's the thing I think is important that a lot of people don't understand, is you're allowed to enjoy flawed media, man. You don't have to just like stuff that's perfect or near perfect. You can like some stuff that's a little messy here and there. And this movie is definitely messy, I can tell you that for sure. Godzilla Kong did a lot of stuff that I've been wanting to see in a Godzilla movie since I was a kid. And a lot of stuff that I would have never imagined they ever do in a Godzilla movie, period. Therefore, I'm going to, based off my first initial reaction / watch of Godzilla Kong: The New Empire, I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Like I said, it's far from perfect. It is a very flawed film. But it is such a fun ride, man. I, as a longtime fan, I was grinning ear to ear the entire film. It hit me right in the soul. And -1 did the same, man. -1 also hit me right in the soul, just in a different way. I think if you're a fan of the Showa Godzilla films or the Millennium Godzilla films, and, you know, you're fond of the MonsterVerse like I am, I think you're truly in for a treat, and I say definitely go check it out. I know there are going to be a few people watching this video, it's like, ah! When they hear me say that, cry harder. But yeah, I really don't have much else to say. I've been working on stuff nonstop this week with the videos and then the music. Yeah, I'm gonna bang this out, and then I'm gonna take this week off, and then I'll get the spoiler review to y'all out as soon as I possibly can. With that being said, though, let me know y'all's thoughts on Godzilla Kong: The New Empire in the comments below. Whether you loved it, whether you didn't care for it, whether you thought it was the worst film in the entire franchise, whatever, just let me know your opinions below. I'm curious to hear all y'all's opinions. As always, if you want to see some more kaiju content, both in video form and some music that I've worked on, make sure to hit that subscribe button and follow me on Instagram and TikTok, since, you know, notifications, they tend not to work sometimes. Like I said, I will try and bang out a spoiler review within the next week. I won't let it go too long without getting one out. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm tired as hell. I don't know if you can see my eyes. We got bags. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.